Kentucky basketball landed their first player of the 2025 transfer portal right before the Sweet 16 game against Tennessee last week. Kam Williams, the freshman guard from Tulane, will be a Wildcat. The versatile sharpshooter also considered the likes of Florida, Louisville, Baylor, Texas, LSU, Texas Tech, Arkansas, USC, and many others. KSR's Brandon Ramsey has it going through a ton of video on Kam Williams. We'll bring him in now. Brandon, how big of a signing is this for Mark Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats?
I think there's a few reasons why this is a really good first piece of this transfer portal class. First and foremost, he checks the box of adding the shooting that obviously is going out of the door. You want to maintain the same level of three-point shooting that Kentucky had this past season. However, I think a lot of us as Kentucky fans have the goal of maintaining that skill, maintaining that shooting ability, while probably upgrading the size and athleticism and physicality to some extent too out on the perimeter. And I think at 6'8", 190 pounds, with some good defensive instincts and some proven prowess on that end of the floor from Kam Williams as well, I think that you check a lot of those boxes. He made 62 threes, I think, last season at like a 41% clip, but then he's big, he has some length, he has some physicality, he's athletic, he has a pretty high block and steal rate. His Hakeem percentage, if you want to call it that, so like block percentage plus steal percentage, was higher than any perimeter Kentucky defender last season. So I think that you see him being able to upgrade some of those areas that Kentucky wants to upgrade while still holding that shooting constant. And I think that's really important and one of the things to be excited about, not to mention the fact that there's 3 years of eligibility here still with a guy like Kam Williams.
Is that kind of what we're going to see from Kam, the ability to create his own?
I think so. He's not a guy, at least yet, that I think is going to make a lot of them necessarily off of the dribble, but he can make them off of some movement. Like he's a guy that I can picture coming off a zoom action and getting it behind the handoff and shooting it from 25, 26 feet away if the defense tries to go under or up through that handoff. I think he's a guy that in transition can run out to the corner and hit a catch and shoot three. But yes, to your point, he does make some tough ones where maybe he needs a shot fake and one dribble to create some more room, or he makes them off of some movement, or he makes them just from simply deeper beyond the arc. So yeah, I think that his shooting ability certainly is something that I'm sure intrigued Coach Pope and the staff early on in this evaluation process as you're looking to replace a lot of made three-point shots that are going out the door this season.
I actually hate to ask this every time, but what are some of the weaknesses with Kam's game?
I think one of the things, and this is combated a little bit by the fact that he's 6'8" and does have really good size, but his release isn't the quickest. He releases it a little bit low, and there's a little bit of a longer load to it, so that there's maybe a tinge there of where like, okay, the American Athletic Conference, the AAC, with Memphis and those teams, it's one of the higher level non-power conference leagues, but it's still not the SEC. So maybe there's a little bit of a worry of, hey, playing against better athletes, longer, more size. Will he be able to get off as many of those as cleanly as he did at the level last season? That's maybe a little bit of a question mark. He still has some room to grow in terms of being a ball handler. Like I don't think he's much of a creator at this point. But Koby Brea wasn't necessarily either. And that was after 5 years of playing college basketball. And we saw him be able to improve even a little bit as a 2-point scorer. So I think some of those things will come with time. And quite frankly, the guy's going to be a sophomore. I mean, if he already had some of those other things in his package, let's face it, he might be going to the NBA draft and not transferring to Kentucky last season. So I absolutely have no real issue if you pencil him in as a starter for next season. I think that it can be a team that was certainly as good, but probably even better than what we saw this past year at Kentucky.
All right, Brandon, appreciate it. Be sure to check out his article on KSRplus.com. He's got a full film review of Kam Williams up on there. And hopefully we're bringing him on several more times here soon to break down some more signings in this transfer portal. For Kentucky Sports Radio, I'm Stephen Peak.